She's April.
And she's Molly.
And we are
the Book Besties.
I'm doing a thing too. It's called sitting.
She's really annoyingly optimistic, which we actually learn is because she had some mental health issues.
She came down in a bubble, Doug! A bubble! You're gonna look at me and tell me I'm wrong?
Sometimes I get a little headache from you right here.
Super forking confusing.
What the hell?
I am Robot Molly.
Oh my gosh.
Today,
so weird.
Book Besties episode number 8. Welcome.
No.
We are talking about Hi, Brent.
No.
Hi. Lauren Asher.
No. What is wrong with you?
I don't know. We just got off with Hillary, and
yeah, one of our guests for next month is your friend Hillary in Ireland.
And I don't know. I get goofy with her because she's like you. She moms me just a little bit enough. Mm-hmm. It's my safe space. So having my two little mom best friends right there, it made me happy to see you guys together.
It's funny
I love
because
you so much.
Oh, I love you too. It's funny because I never met her because you became friends after I left. So
yeah,
she's my replacement, and I feel a lot of things about that.
And she looks like you just as much as you look like me.
I have a lot of feelings about you replacing me with someone.
You're not replaced.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
She just, and that's the weird thing. I didn't pick her. You have to understand. I didn't pick Hillary. My daughter picked her daughter. And I was given a new... I mean, Hillary and I can go over this when she comes to visit, but they're my future in-laws.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that sees our daughters interact know that our daughters, even if it's a heterosexual relationship, they are paired for life, those two. Mm-hmm. They picked each other in the first grade and keep picking each other every single fucking day. Every single fucking day. It is beautiful and sweet and... also a little concerning that they are so obsessed with each other at such a young age, but that's beside the point.
Well, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. And also next month we have Chezzy coming back, who sent me a very funny message on Instagram. And I love her.
I love her. And I want to talk to Chezzy about mine and her conversation, because around that same time, her and I were communicating about writing.
I really want to ask her this time, even if she won't say on pod. I keep forgetting to ask her every time she's come on which ending she prefers for Eliza and her monsters, because there's
ending. Very well. She wrote that second ending on purpose.
I just want to know which one she likes better, because I like the second one.
She won't say. She won't pick.
I want her to.
You won't get her on record.
Well, I'm going to ask her anyway. All right. So, hey, I'm doing this thing. Okay. I'm gonna send you the link. So
I'm doing a thing too. It's called sitting. So tell me about your thing now that we've talked about mine. I told you I was in a weird mood. I'm sorry.
Sometimes I get a little headache from you right here. Ironically, it's the same place that Tom gives me a headache. So,
high five, Tom.
Apparently that's reserved for people that I love a lot. Okay, so
Tom headache, got it.
So for the month of March, which this episode is for the last week in January. If y'all are February. If y'all are listening to it, it's the last week in February.
It's our last romance booking.
Mm-hmm. And for the month of March, I have signed up to raise money for the organization To Write Love on Her Arms. So I'll send my challenge link and also more information about To Write Love on Her Arms. You'll find it in the description below.
This is the first I've ever seen of it, so I'd love to know more.
So yeah, I'd like to tell you more. So To Write Love on Her Arms is an organization that was founded in Florida. It was founded by two friends of a woman who had an issue. She had a substance abuse addiction. She was suicidal, and she was self-harming. And basically the whole idea of To Write Love on Her Arms is, instead of the scarring that she was leaving for herself, we're going to leave love on her. And they started in Florida when I was actually teaching there. And I discovered the organization because they started going to a lot of like alt concerts, like all over the state, really big in the emo crowd. And they raise money to raise both awareness and other services for people in need who have mental health issues and are self-harming, addicts, suicidal, so that they can get the help and support that they need. So I signed up for this challenge. I was such a big fan of To Write Love on Our Arms. I've been a big fan of theirs since their founding. I had several students when I was teaching who self-harmed, and I had a student who tried to commit suicide at school. And so I'm really a fan of what their organization is doing to help young people, people of all ages. So this fundraiser, I have agreed to read 20 minutes per day, which is easy for me because I read an audiobook like 3 hours a day. So I'm going to meet this goal. But if you would like to support the organization, or you want to start a challenge of your own and raise money for them, please do. It's a wonderful organization.
It's beautiful.
And I am proud to be a part of this fundraiser they have going on. And they have a Facebook group for all of us who are participating. And I did give a shout out to our pod and mention that I was half of the Book Besties podcast. And so if anybody is now joining us from there, thank you for coming.
Thank you for joining us.
We do talk about some episodes.
Very triggering.
Some of our episodes have a lot of trigger warnings. This book that we're going to talk about today does have some trigger warnings. So just know that we love you, and you are welcome to come back when there's an episode
this is a safe
that's a little bit easier for you. Yeah, safe space. We are allies. We are safe people. We actually had somebody
more than an ally, but that is
right. Well,
yeah.
We recently had somebody message us about audiobooks because the person was dyslexic.
Yeah.
Is that right? And they're in a different country, and audiobooks were not.
Let me find my phone. I want to thank her. I'm not going to put that person on blast.
Yeah, I don't want to put her up.
I don't want to put that person on blast, but I want to thank you.
Question. Yeah.
And the fact that I know English wasn't your second language, and the fact that you felt I was safe, we were safe.
Yeah.
It meant the world to April and I. And I'm really not going to lie. You guys know that I use medicinal marijuana, and I was stony pants and crying when I text April. And I was like, and April's like, message her back tomorrow.
Yeah. I thought it was really sweet. The country where she is, audiobooks are really only for people that have visual impairments and not for people that have reading disabilities.
Yeah.
And so she kind of gets crapped on because she's reading audiobooks, and we want her to know, and Molly responded, we read audiobooks. We count it as reading. It is 100% reading. However you choose to engage in literature, please just do it. Like,
your brain is getting activated. Your brain is recognizing those words. Your brain is acknowledging that process.
Yeah. And honestly,
just like
I'm reading the Shadow and Bone series right now as an audiobook, and I'm glad I am because the books are written like with Russian dialect and things. And I don't know if they're based on any sort of Russian fables or anything. I'll have to research it, but I don't know how to pronounce all of the names and all of the words. And hearing them in the audiobook, I know I'm pronouncing them correctly, but when I've been like texting our friend Nurse Katie to like say, oh my gosh, this just happened, I have to look up the spelling of the person's name because I want to spell it phonetically because that's how I'm hearing it.
Yeah, I mean, that was how I was with Discovery of Witches. The time I read it, it was very much me going like Isabeau. It does not sound like a Y, it sounds like an I. And some countries and some dialects, it is spelt with an I or an E. So you don't know how it's spelled. So you have to physically, and that's a Y, she uses the French spelling, which is Y, which is super forking confusing.
Yeah. So please enjoy audiobooks, enjoy our podcast.
I mean, look at the fucking word dyslexic. I can't even spell that goddamn word.
I don't know why they thought that would be the best.
It's not funny.
Well, it's
I
because
think you guys realize how unfunny that is.
It's because dis means not, and lex comes from lexicon, which is word.
I know fucking it's Latin. It's just bullshit Latin.
Fair. All right, do you want to talk about this book that we're reading? We've had a little bit of heavy, but we're reading a light.
Do you not want to hear about my day date for Valentine's Day?
Oh, I want to hear about your day date.
My lovely husband planned a whole day.
Aww,
we went to
really
sports.
Sweet.
We did sports. We went to a hockey game, which was duller than dull, by the way.
You went.
I like yelling at things. He took me to a place where it was acceptable to yell.
Fair.
Okay, but that was the end of the evening. So we started it by going to Georgetown because Georgetown is a walking town. And it's beautiful and you can see all the things.
Yeah.
It was raining and 40 degrees. No. And I brought my winter coat. So the both of us were full of wet rain.
But and then you went to a hockey game, which is also cold.
Yes. So, which I had his wet Carhartt jacket on my legs the whole time just to stay warm.
Nice.
But we had a good time.
Thought, right?
It's the thought. We had a good time. We found a couple vintage shops and there was this really cool art store that was like arts and like vintage furniture and shit. Mm-hmm. But it was all the weird shit, like the weird artists that people don't get. Like it's all my aesthetic, right? Mm-hmm. So we get in there and we go into the basement and there's this picture. And I literally just a tear rolls down my face as I see it. So he knows I'm already in love with it. Mm-hmm. And he pulls it out and he goes, "We gotta go." And I go, "Why?" And he goes, "Because this picture is $5,000. And I go, "Yeah, we gotta go." I am not emotionally attaching myself to a picture
that's $5,000. We're going on a date on Monday.
Eventually.
Well, yeah. Spoiler behind the scenes. We're filming on Saturday, and we're going on a Monday. But anyway, he wanted to go antiquing, and I was like, my leg hurts. I don't want to go antiquing. But we are going to a secondhand bookstore that has vintage and vintage books and older books. And then we're also going to go to dinner. So
nice. We went to the place with the funky paintings. Told me that there was a vintage bookstore down the street, and I was like, sweet. I get there. It was a used bookstore.
Yeah.
A shit ton of Dean Koon and
no, that's not
Patterson that's and just okay.
All right, so let's talk about the book.
We are going to talk about Fine Print.
The Fine Print by Lauren Asher, which is a part of the Dreamland Billionaires. And here's the other two. Terms and Conditions is books 2, and Final Offer is book 3. All 3 are out now and on my bookshelf and ready for me to want to
consume during our little pot break.
Exactly, that's my plan.
Want a synopsis?
Yes, I think we should do that.
Synopsis. Chicka. Synopsis. That was my best rapping. I know, I'm the worst. When Brady Kane finally
Try again.
Those are words. When Brady Kane passes, he leaves behind 3 letters for his 3 grown grandsons. They must complete whatever task is said in said letters to get their share of the Dreamland fortune. So let's talk about The Fine Print, the first book in this series.
That's Rowan. Your whole synopsis?
No, I'm moving on.
Oh, okay.
I'm going, I'm talking. Give me a second!
Sorry.
Did you not read the notes?
I did, actually. That's the sad part.
I don't have a screaming go, or that's my... Close enough.
My bad.
Can I start over?
Don't start over. Just start from there.
Rowan is guarded and just wants to finish the next 6 months to get out of Dreamland and take over as CFO as he's planned. But then he meets Zara. Zara is a stylist at the Princess Salon when she drunkenly submits a proposal tearing down the newest attraction at Dreamland. This is how she finds herself in Rowan's office about to sign the paperwork for her dream job. So what happens after? Let's talk about it. All the spice that is in this book. Better?
I guess.
Okay, you take a whack at it, bitch.
Listen, I write synopsize. I don't know. I write the plural of synopsis. And it's all like long and intricate and detailed and thoughtful. And you're like, let's talk about it.
Because I don't need a dissertation because we want them to like the book. I don't want to give them the whole fucking thing.
Well, I feel like there are
two different camps to this.
Yes. I can't pare mine down, okay? I can't.
That's okay. You don't have to. I'm not asking you to. Okay. Just don't expect me to write a essay like you do.
You are literally the writer of the two of us.
But it's not my job to rephrase their words.
Yes, it is. We have a podcast that we literally do that on.
But I'm not going to put this whole book in a paragraph.
Fine. Agree to disagree.
You want the first question or no? Or are we going to call it here? We're done. Guys, it's been great. We love y'all. Thanks for coming.
I want to talk about this book because I like this book. I want to talk about this book because I like this book. I was surprised I like this book. So I want to talk about it. I also want to be annoyed at you. So I'll just
let's do both. Sweet.
Let's just do both.
Lauren Asher. I love you. Okay. Lauren Asher is new to the pod. Thoughts on her writing and her writing style?
So I can definitely tell that these were self-published first, and they were. These were self-published, and then they were picked up by the same publishing company that wrote 50 Shades of Grey, or published 50 Shades of Grey. You know how we feel about that on the pod. I actually think this is better written than 50 Shades of Grey, so that had it going for it. I bought the other two books in the series because I liked it so much. So I definitely think, I'm going to continue to at least read this series.
I mean, I'm going to finish the series too. Definitely.
But you know what's interesting to me? Because do you have the physical copy? I know you.
Yep. And okay. I tabbed it. And so, the next question is going to go into where I have issues.
So in the physical copy, there's pictures of Cinderella's castle, which is actually not Cinderella's castle. That was based on
roller coasters.
New Schwanstein Castle. But it's basically, this is like Disney's family.
It's like Disney.
Right. And I have a feeling that, like, you know how in 50 Shades of Grey, it was fanfic for Twilight?
Yeah.
And all they did when she was self-publishing, when she was publishing on the fanfic sites, she was using Edward and Bella. I think that when this was published originally, she had Disney, and the publishers were like, you can't do that because that's a problem. Disney will sue your ass.
I spoke to my cousin who's an actual cast member about this, actually.
Uh-huh.
And some of the details in here, I've spoke to her at detail about her job in the past.
Uh-huh.
Some of the information is too realistic for this not to be written by a cast member.
Really? Well, I mean, I wonder if we could Google Lauren Asher and find out if she was.
I've Googled her, and her website is very vague, and she only has a cartoon picture of herself. So this is a pen name.
Shit.
I am 95% certain this is a cast member who wrote fanfic. I would bet money on it.
Listen, there are so many Disney adults that I am not surprised that there is Disney fanfic
erotica.
That's erotica. Exactly.
Welcome to Disney erotica. But that is 1,000,000%. I mean, they own streaming services. They own TV channels. They own buildings. They have parks in Paris and Japan. You're telling me this isn't?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So I like her writing style, but I'm going to get into my beef in this next question.
Okay.
We all know here at Pod, we are not fans of 50 Shades of Grey. Right. And we've had issues, I'm air quoting, with it. And some of those issues arose in this book for me. Consistency of content, keeping information straight.
Yeah.
What did you think of that part of this book?
So I didn't find as much inconsistency as you did, which is probably because I read it as an audiobook. I've said this on the pod before, but the reason that when it's my turn to host, I read the physical book is because I do more of a close reading when it's my turn to host, because I'm looking for those questions. I'm looking for, that whole story.
Yeah.
When I listen to an audiobook, I'm able to like engage more in like the enjoyment of it.
Yeah.
Not that I don't enjoy reading physical books. I don't want to sound
Right.
like that. But so I didn't see as many inconsistencies as you did. I really had a big fucking problem with the names Rowan and Zara, which are just so fucking cliche for a romance novel. Like, you couldn't
They're just
picked,
romance names. Like,
you couldn't have picked more cliche. I mean,
those are name generators.
Yeah, those are names that, like, you see Fabio on the cover, bodice ripper type things.
And
like,
I mean,
ridiculous.
whatever.
And
Each
their
own.
all their middle names are character
Knights of the
Knights
fucking
of the Round Table.
Galahand.
No. But if you are looking for the Disney fantasy, you know,
welcome. You found what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So, I want to talk about where I started.
Okay.
And I'm going to show you. Okay.
Okay. Tell us.
So this is where I was pair reading. And I call pair reading where I listen to audiobook and physically read at the same time.
Sure.
Because it helps my dyslexia, I think.
Yeah.
It helps me pair words in my brain.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's the thing I do to train myself. It is a Molly exercise.
And honestly, pro tip for any of those parents out there that have kids that are dyslexic, there are books called read-alongs that you can get at your local library for free that will have the text, and they are not CDs anymore. They are like digital MP3 players that only play that one audiobook. Great way to engage your readers.
What is it the girls used to use in elementary school? If I can find it, I'll put a link in the drive, but it's a game/reading app that reads alongside the kids, and it'll pause and ask the kid to say out loud the word, and it use talk to text to acknowledge that they're understanding the words. It's brilliant. If I can find it, I will post it in links.
Okay.
But so my paired reading, I stopped here. You're gonna see why I stopped here.
Okay.
That's a good gap, huh?
Right. It's like maybe the first, not even quarter of the book.
So in chapter 8, we're starting at chapter 8, okay?
First 8.
So at the beginning of chapter 8, this is page 57. On page 61, she goes, I tiptoed on the tip of my sneaker. Okay? 2 pages later, she talks about how her ballet flats are tapping the floor. Yeah. And while that's a little thing, as the book keeps going on,
there become more things. Yeah.
And it's not little anymore.
Yeah.
And that's the job of an editor and your writing team.
Yeah, but they're also, this is an indie publishing house, right? Same thing with 50 Shades of Grey. This is an indie publishing house. And
it just feels like one of those things that is difficult not to catch.
Yeah.
If in my first read I heard that and I go, wait, she had sneakers on. Why? How many other people are doing that shit, you know?
Right.
So, but I disassociated after that. I couldn't sit and do the deep dive like I wanted to.
I was surprised at how much I liked this story because I don't like the alpha male. The alpha male is not for me. I don't want the guy who's going to be like, you know.
There's only one place I want to be bossed around. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, but that's what's happening in this book.
That's all I want. So I am in charge 95% of the time. The rest of the time, you're the boss one more place. That's it.
It's just the alpha male is not for me. And I think that Lauren Asher was trying to fix the alpha male thing by making him the artist as well. So he's the tortured artist who was treated poorly by his father, which is also just a cliche. I mean, it really is. But I mean, I'm being critical of this book, but I found it to be motherfucking hot. Like, it was so hot. And I was just like, damn. Like, there's a scene in which he says something like, buy me dinner first or something. And she's like, you can eat me. And he was just like, fuck. Yeah. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
It was dirty.
Yeah.
There were parts that were very laughable, though. Like, I was like, come on. But it was dirty.
We'll talk about it. The grandfather has written each of the brothers a letter. In these letters, they are told they must complete a task to gain their portion of the inheritance. What did you think of this premise? Do you want me to read part of Rowan's letter?
You don't have to. I mean, if you want to, but
I will just say it starts with my sweet little Rowan.
Mm-hmm.
And we know Rowan is not sweet or little.
Or little.
So,
no. Well, I think that that's who he really is. I think that that's not who he was allowed to be.
Oh, Rowan was the gentle artist growing up.
Right. And I think that his grandfather saw the most of himself in him because his grandfather was an artist.
A creative as well.
Right. So I think the concept of the letters, I mean, it's the major plot point of all three books, right? All three of the brothers got a letter. They all have to accomplish something or they don't get their inheritance.
Right.
So it's fine. There were parts of it that I thought were kind of weird. Like, I'm going to jump to the end real quick, but when Rowan has to present his plan, there's a board that was elected by his grandfather. And
who all got letters
They all got letters too. And of course, Zara is one of those. And she personally knew his grandfather. And all of that is just kind of far-fetched. It didn't mean I didn't like it. We talk about a lot that if you make the cliche work, I'm going to like it. But,
right.
But it did feel a little bit like,
I mean, but if the cliche works, I'm going to lean into it. And I didn't have beef with the cliches.
No, I didn't either. But it felt like there was a lack of finesse in the storytelling. Which is probably because she's a first-time author.
Yeah. And I'm sure the next couple books, maybe they go smoother.
Well, the third one, is significantly longer. It's
probably wrapping everything up.
Close to 600 pages. And like I said before, that's a lot of banging. You know what sucks? I'm just going to take a pause for a second to tell you something. Not pausing the episode, but okay, can you see how much shelfware is on this book?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I bought this copy at Barnes & Noble. I bought these copies from Amazon. No shelfware. The librarian in me is so fucking annoyed about the fact that this is beige and the other ones are white.
You okay?
Not really.
Would you like my copy from
Tom was trying.
You want to go Flopsies? I will send you my Amazon copy of fine print, and you can have, and I'll take your shelfware.
No, it's fine. Tom was trying to tell me how to shift the books on my shelf so I could make room for this hole over here, which will be filled with a friend's Central Perk. And I was like, "Are you trying to tell me how to shift books?"
He's mansplaining your degree to you.
Yeah. This from the man.
Listen to me, motherfucker. I don't have a lot of cause to call you a motherfucker. Bro, we don't mansplain. Come on, Tom.
This from the man who the very first time that we met on our first date, he goes, "You need a library degree to put books on a shelf?" I married him. I was like, anyway, I guess that's enough picking on my husband.
You want to go to the fourth question?
Sounds like a good place to be.
Zara has dreamed of being a creator, or well, she did till her ex-boyfriend Lance stole her idea for Neverland.
Mm-hmm.
When she gets drunk and submits a counter proposal, she gets the dream job.
Yeah.
What do you think of this setup to get our main characters together?
Okay, here's my biggest issue with all of this. It doesn't bother me that she had kind of gotten fucked over by the ex-boyfriend. It doesn't bother me that she was working with the grandfather beforehand. What bothers me is that a terrible idea like that would be considered the best idea, that she gets pulled into being essentially an Imagineer for Disney, because that's what basically it is.
They're Disney Imagineers.
The other thing that bothers me is that no one had a record of the fact that she was working with Grandpa. No one had, I mean, it was in her personnel file that she was creative and she was going to do good things. But, like, the secretary didn't know.
Handwritten notes in Grandpa's handwriting.
Right.
But nobody thought to go,
and the secretary didn't go, "Hey, there's actually this girl that your grandfather's been working with." None of that. Really?
It just makes no sense.
And when she started referring to his grandfather, his name escapes me right now, which is why I just keep saying the grandfather. But when she referred to him by name.
Brady.
When she refers to him by name as Brady, he's like, "What? Who is she to do that? To say my grandfather?
How dare she talk about my grandfather?
Why didn't she just say I knew him personally? He was coaching me. This is my dream job.
Out your mouth. Get my name out your mouth." He's like freaking out.
Keep my grandma's name out your motherfucking mouth, Grandpa.
But like later, we learn that Grandpa knew this whole time, right? Wrote her a fucking letter. It's just...
So it doesn't, to me, that seems dumb. Like,
Yeah.
she could have just, we could have been a third of the way shorter if she would have just said, yeah, I was working with your grandpa on that project. Then when he had his accident and went into a coma, I didn't feel right about submitting it, and my ex stole it. She admitted that the ex stole her idea. Why didn't she just say, I was working on it with your grandpa? Furthermore, why didn't Brady have a record of this wonderful idea they were working on together?
Because he thought he was going to live long enough to fix it. Because hubris of age, wealth, and time.
But I'm complaining, but I really liked this book.
I really like this book, too. Okay, as always, guys.
I'm being overly critical, but I like
because we like it.
Yeah.
There's times you can tell when we're being hypercritical because we like it, and then there's times when we're being hypercritical to be hypercritical.
Right.
We get the pretend to be someone else trope pretty quick.
Ugh.
What did you think of Scott? And what did you think about how Rowan chose to just out himself?
It was very much, spoiler alert,
Mm-hmm.
it was very much love on the brain. Well, not really love on the brain because they didn't know that they were talking to each other. I can't believe he hid this from her. It was so childish. You're this alpha male and you're going to be that fucking childish? Dumb.
It just feels... It shows his immaturity when it comes to relationships.
Right.
It shows how sheltered... It shows how immature he is mentally, right? It shows how inexperienced this man is with life.
But we do, in defense of it, we do get an insight into why he did this. He wanted to keep talking to her. He wanted to get to know her more. He was afraid she wouldn't open up to him. And if he got to know her more as himself, there were instances that people had sold stories about him to the tabloids. And so he was afraid to be himself.
Right. And I get I just feel like, one, I don't know. There's a two-part for this for me, okay?
Mm-hmm.
One, I'm not a fan, but I don't know how. I'm not a fan of this. I'm never a fan of the fake. Right. It's Roxanne, right? That's the OG story. That's the original story. Mm-hmm. It's the classic Roxanne. Right. The man with the big nose. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I'll put it in the comments. But it's this classic story of how a man's face is so disfigured that he uses another's face. And he speaks through this man to tell this woman that he loves her. But then the woman falls in love with the other guy and not her. And it's a whole thing. Anyway, if you haven't seen Roxanne, I don't know what to tell you. But that's one part of it. One, I don't know how she would, that's one. But two, I don't know how she would get Rowan and her together that way or create the initial conflict without it.
I agree with you, except that they kiss very early. Before he pretends to be Scott, they make out in the meeting, in the conference room. So there was already a sexual chemistry there. This was how she fell in love with him. Yes. But it's not, they already had sexual chemistry. There was other ways to do it. He didn't have to pretend to be Scott to continue to help her.
I know. I, as a writer,
I don't know how to reconcile it either.
Looking at the puzzle of the book, like usually I can figure out and navigate it, right, as an author. But I don't see how this maze unravels any other way.
I agree. I don't think there's a way to navigate it any other way. So that's what we're left with. I just am not a fan of that trope.
I'm not either. It goes up there with the pregnancy trope.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of pregnancy tropes or the fake pregnancy trope or the dead husband trope. Not a fan of that one either. I don't like let's play on the hearts of widows thing. It bothers me. Okay, anyway.
That one doesn't bother me.
Interesting.
It's not that I want to kill my husband off. It's usually the widow, when she gets the love story, it's that second chance to find true love again. And, I'm always here for the slow burn. So.
Right. But my problem with it is more of you're telling me 95% of the time I'm reading those books and she meets this future, life-saving love interest at her fucking partner's funeral.
That's
it's the war buddy, or it's his second cousin, or it's his long-lost brother who's extremely wealthy and just wants to take care of her and the kids. It's just, it feels gross.
Yeah, in that context, yes.
Okay.
If it's just some guy.
Right. While this book is spicy, this is my next question, sorry. While this book is spicy, it isn't the sex that makes it spicy, in my opinion. It's the talking and the mindsets of our main characters. What did you think of that choice for the author to make this book hot, but not sex-driven?
So I kind of disagree, because when they bang, it is
right, but hot. That is not.
But here is what this book did that Ice Planet failed at. Ice Planet Barbarians did the alternating character voices, point of views, but Vectol talked in whatever language he had, he couldn't understand her, and it was just a fucking mess.
Word.
This one, we get the inner monologue of both of them, and we can tell that they're falling for each other, and we can tell that they're lusting for each other, and it is sexy as hell. And listen, when I first started the book, I was not a fan of the narrator for Rowan. I was like,
oh, I wasn't either. And his voice grated on me.
It did me too, because I'm not into the alpha male, and that's what he is. But I looked it up, and he has a lot of books that he narrates. And
that chick did the voice of America, by the way. That chick's the voice of America in The Selection. I recognized her instantly.
I fucking knew I had to recognize her voice. I was like, who is this? I recognized her voice and wasn't sure. Are you sure that it's her?
I would bet money on it. I'll double check right now, but I bet money on it.
Let me tell you my point. So
you go to your point while I look this up.
So I was not a fan of Rowan, of the narrator for Rowan, and his voice was not a turn on for me. And funny story, I told Tom this. I was like, the book is hot, but his voice is not really it for me. And then Tom came upstairs one day while I was getting ready, and I listened to audiobooks while I'm getting ready, and I was like, see what I mean? And he's like, I wouldn't kick him out of bed. And I fucking lost it. I love my husband so much. He is very, very straight, but he does read romance novels. And that made me laugh really hard. And then after the book started going on for a few more chapters, I kind of...
Oh my God, it's not her. You're right.
I kind of started to really like his voice. And I found it to be sexy.
Yeah, you're right. It wasn't her. Just sounds a lot like her. I mean, I
recognized his voice too, and I couldn't figure out what from. But I looked him up, and I haven't read any of the other books that he's narrating for.
And hers, I don't recognize a single one of her best-selling books. She only does romance.
So does he. And
which is weird, because I recognize her voice.
Well, interesting fact for all of you that are audiobook readers, the first book, the one we're talking about today, is available as an audiobook, but the other two are not.
# not sponsored on Audible.
Yeah, we're not sponsored, but again, this is an indie publishing house, so they might not put out an audiobook for it. We don't know. Now, they've grown in popularity because of the TikTok and the Instagram, so maybe, but right now, only the first one is available as an audiobook.
Right. But the point is, sorry, I was just scrolling her Audible to see if I could find her. No. Her voice reminded me so much of America. I was instantly picturing a younger America,
I think she's supposed to be, isn't she Latino?
Yeah.
Or Greek?
I honestly, Greek? Amelia Clark, who's came to mind for this character.
No.
But, no.
She's got the cuteness, but she doesn't have the dark features.
No.
Zara.
No. A Latino Amelia Clark. That tiny, little quirky, bubbly, little...
Yeah, but there probably is somebody that is the Latino
version of... Anyways. Who would you say fell in love first? Rowan or Zara?
I honestly think they were doing it at the same time. The problem was that Zara was falling in love with Scott and Rowan at the same time. while Rowan was just falling in love with Zara. But I think that boy was at least lusting for her from the very first second he sat next to her.
I think he had feelings for her as soon as he met her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, instantly. And I think he
Not
recognized
love,
it first.
because
No.
it doesn't start that way.
I think he loved her first. His need to protect her and want her near him. That whole thing with the phone numbers and the buddy program. Yeah. I want to talk about the New York trip real quick.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of his use of his resources? Was it believable? Did you feel like this was like a necessary plot point in this story?
I think going to New York was a little cliche, but I think because they could have just done that in Florida, like they could have.
Yeah, he could have just But well, I mean, he did. He did do that in Florida. He followed her around the amusement park.
Right.
All damn day.
But he could have brought her favorite author to Florida for a signing. Which, by the way, that series is totally Bridgerton.
Oh, it's 1,000,000% Bridgerton.
Yeah.
You're gonna mention somebody like
The thing that just popped in my head is that like soundbite that's like, "You're gonna look at me and tell me that I'm wrong? Grow up, bro. Grow up."
She came down in a bubble. A bubble. You're gonna look at me and tell me I'm wrong? My little sister, Jessie and I, every time Jessie and I see that, we send it to each other. A bubble. Funny. She wore a crown. Grow up. Grow up. Nailed it.
That's hilarious. Anyway, so he could have done that anywhere. I think using it as New York was a cliche. I think that they did the New York because how else is she going to get sick? Which she could have. They
have to have this thing that breaks them to bring them back together, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, I also thought him following her around the amusement park was cute. Mm-hmm. I thought that was adorable. It gets him on her level.
Right.
And I thought that was a really cute choice by the author.
Yeah. And she also made him be normal. Like, you have to wait in line. You have to do the things that these people who are paying to come here have to
because do. They spend
a lot of money. Right. Yeah.
So I want to talk about Zara's family now and her sister. Mm-hmm. She is second generation staff with her sister. Mm-hmm. And she has Down syndrome. Mm-hmm. And Zara starts a mentoring program to help her sister and her sister's boyfriend and others like them. Mm-hmm. What did you think of this use as a plot point and also a plot driver? Because, I mean, this is the end of our story, right? This drives the end of our story.
Right. I like that in the end, they were going to make Dreamland more accessible for kids with special needs. I did not like the plot device that Rowan gets to know her sister better to basically get her to know her better.
No.
And I was really uncomfortable with how both narrators narrated her voice.
Yeah.
I was really uncomfortable with it.
It didn't feel kind.
No, it didn't. And as a mom of a special needs child, like I'm always looking for
honestly, that is a direction choice, not an audiobook narrator choice. When they're in the booth, they're doing what they're told, not.
Well, I don't think it would have mattered how they did it. I was going to be uncomfortable anyway.
Right.
Basically imitating someone who has Downs, and that's just not okay.
And it wasn't meant to. And let's get the. We're not accusing them of picking on this child, picking on people with Downs. It's just an uncomfortable thing. You have to express they have Downs. People with Downs do have a very direct way their voices sound. Mm-hmm. So, yes, they have to imitate it. Doesn't mean it has to make us comfortable with it.
Yeah. I didn't like that the sister was this driving point. I really just struggled with that part of the book.
Yeah.
It could have been really any disability that would have prompted, I don't know. And just as a side note, I kept confusing her roommate and thinking her roommate was also her sister. Because her roommate does all the stuff with her family too. And so I kept getting confused on that. I don't know. Do you think there really are generational families working at Disney?
There is. Yeah. Multi-generational.
Sounds awful.
Multi-generational.
I don't want to be that happy all the time.
It's not about it.
When I'm Miss April, I'm happy for 30 minutes at a time, and then I get to go be back to being myself.
It's the only income in some areas for people.
Yeah, but not where they're located. In Kissimmee, Florida, Orlando, they could work at a lot of different places, all in the service industry, if that's what you wanted to do, because they're
right. Orlando. I mean, Orlando's a massive tourist trap. Mm-hmm. But yes, Disney does have. But Disney in Cali, have you been out there?
I've been to
the living situation in the area around that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been to Universal Hollywood and to MGM Studios is what it was called when I was there, but it's not that anymore. But it's part of Disney.
California Disney.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called now, but it's a studio.
It's California Adventure, they call it now.
Okay. Well,
the left side of Disney in California.
Yeah,
one side's Disneyland or Disney World or whatever the fuck they call it on that side.
Land in California, World in Florida.
Yeah. So that's the driving force in the right is her sister with Downs. The whole park is blah 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 whatever. Mm-hmm. So my final question is I wanted to know if you had any favorite characters, final thoughts, April Goodreads, that kind of stuff.
I am wondering, I have a wonder. I wonder if the roommate with her chef story, if that's going to come back at some point. Because
I'm wondering if it's the younger brother. Like, I know the older brother is definitely going to fall in love with the
secretary.
The secretary. So? They're definitely going to be propagating kids, and
that's what
she's going to be, But the younger brother, maybe?
Well, but wasn't she dating
She was lesbian or bi?
She was dating a woman in the book. Like, she dated the other chef who was a woman. But that story kind of got a throwaway, so I wanted to know more about that.
Maybe we'll get a novella. That'd be great.
I don't know. I really liked their story together, but I don't really find Zara or Rowan likable outside of each other.
Agreed.
Zara is too happy. She's really annoyingly optimistic, which we actually learn is because she had some mental health issues and was suicidal. So
when some people are forced happy, it is a coping mechanism to push us through the day.
Right. Well, I think that she was like that, and then the boyfriend broke her, and then she got back to being like that, but I just don't find her really likable. And I don't find him likable either. I'm not into the alpha male. But together, I really liked them.
Yeah.
I really did.
Yeah.
And I did take issue with the epilogue, and they're married, and now they're reopening, and blah, blah,
and then
blah.
The double epilogue where they have kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked...
That story wasn't necessary. We knew what they were going to do. We could have ended there.
I know I'm not getting any more books. I like that because that ends the story for me.
Okay. Well, see, I already bought them, so...
I know I'm not getting any more books of those two because of those two things, and I'm good. What was your Goodreads?
I gave it a 3.5 out of 5, but a 5 out of 5 on Spice, on the sex scenes.
That's...
So
any final thoughts?
I will definitely be finishing the series. It's probably going to take me a while because because I don't have audiobooks for it. It's only physical. So I have to read it in between pod books. So I don't know when I will, but I'm definitely going to finish the series. I really liked the concept. I thought it was really cool.
It felt original.
It did. And I'm okay with Disney, like, fan fic, and I think I want more of it.
I like Disney. I'll call myself a Disney adult adjacent.
Yeah.
I mean, we got lightsabers last time we were there, right?
We're taking the boys this year, actually.
The girls, all of us got lightsabers. Mm-hmm. We did that whole experience. It was expensive as shit, but it was worth the pennies because it's something we'll never get to do again.
Right.
I love Disney. I love going. I don't like paying for Disney.
Disney is really expensive.
I really enjoy this, so I'm sure the Disney adults love this. Mm-hmm. But as I'm going to have to I'm going to have to send a copy to my cousin and have her read it
Mm-hmm.
just because I need to know a cast member's feelings on
Mm-hmm.
it. Because I feel like
there's
the consistencies and the realism of what it's like for them versus how it's portrayed might be an interesting thought to hear.
Well, one of the women on my staff worked for Disney for like 10 years, and she had refused to read it because she was like, she had started it, and she was like, nah, I can't do this. But I convinced her to read it again. But she's actually a bookstagrammer too, and potentially coming on in season 5.
Nice.
So, I don't usually mix work and pod, but
let's do it.
Going to. So
okay, let's talk about next week then.
So actually, can we talk about all next month, because this is the last month, the week of February. So we're actually only going to do 3 episodes in March. We're going to take the last week in March off, so we can take a little break and a refresher.
It's also birthday month in the Big's house. Matt and Piper's birthdays, so
James is turning 10 in March.
I'm going to have a 14-year-old, and Matt's turning 40.
I feel a lot of things.
I don't want to talk about it. I have a high school freshman next year. This year.
All right. So our first book for March is An Abundance of Catherines by John Green. It just occurred to me that John Green is not on our season 5 list, and every season, John Green every season is on. So
I have feelings about the audiobook narrator of this, by the way.
Okay. Well, this is his second book that he wrote, and it won the Prince Award, which is excellence for young adult literature. It's from American Library Association. So An Abundance of Catherines. Then we are going to have Molly's friend Hillary in Ireland is going to join us for St. Patrick's Day to read Oh My God, What a Complete Ashling. And this is the book. It is an Irish author and an Irish book, and we're all going to just pretend like we can understand it.
Hillary is going to have a guide for us, she said. She's going to have a little Irish to English dictionary squared away.
And she's actually going to host that episode. Yeah.
She is.
She's going to host that episode. And I'm excited. I think it's going to be fun.
It is. I mean, I know you have feelings about Hillary, not against Hillary, against me more, because you think I've replaced you, even though I didn't replace you. I keep you. I keep you. You're mine.
Sure.
You came first.
Sure.
But she's going to be my kid's mother-in-law one day. I'm 95% certain.
Sure. All right.
You'll see.
The last episode for March that we are doing is a special guest, Francesca Zappia Chesi, will be here to talk about her newest book, Grey Mist Fair, which actually comes out in March. Pre-order it now. We'll put the link to her website.
I'm reading it.
It is a Grimm's retelling, and guys, I mean, look at that cover art. She's so talented. I don't actually know if she illustrated the cover art. We'll have to ask her, but she did do some spot art in the book, as she does for all of her books. And she has become a friend of the pod and autographed our copies, and she's just so sweet. We like her a lot. So
word.
So that's what we have got coming up in March.
Jesse.
Check social media. I did post a carousel that gives more information about our guests, and tagged Francesca Zappia in it.
And you guys can see that April, Hillary, and I all have the same nose.
I don't think we do, but it's okay.
They're very similar.
Okay.
Sure. They're very similar. Nobody has to be with me.
That's all I've got. We're going to take a week off, and so not next week, but we're going to do 3 episodes in March, and then we'll take a week off. So next week we'll have John Green, because John Green every season
till he's on.
And we're going to read Abundance of Catherines.
An Abundance of Catherines.
And that's all I got.
I got nothing else.
All right.
We'll see you guys next time. I love
you.
Bye. Thank you for joining us on Book Besties. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The views discussed here are those of Molly and April and not those of anyone else. Today's book was Fine Print by Lauren Asher. Your Book Besties are Molly Beggs and April Watkins. Editing by Thomas Watkins, and music is Sleep Sweetly by Brigida. Don't forget to follow the Book Besties on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. If you'd like to contact the Book Besties, please email us at bookbestiespod@gmail.com or visit our website, www.bookbestiespodcast.com. Until next time, besties, get lost in your favorite book.